Baby, this is perfection.
Fix me!
Ahoy toy, welcome to Transfixed, the channel that will never break down after a wild ride. Tonight we're going to be taking a look at the Stunticons and how to fix their posture, because I love these legacy Stunticons except for one thing that really grinds my gears, and that is the stance, because for some reason you can't get them into this, I think what the fans call an A stance, because they have something in these hip joints that just wasn't working for me. I don't know how to demonstrate this on video exactly, but I'm going to slowly push this in, and if you own this figure, you probably understand what's happening here. It'll just spring in, you can't get it into this. They just want to return right here. It's right here is where there's tension for some reason. And it really bothers me, and I needed to fix it because these are Decepticons. Right? I mean, you can't have your Stunticons standing at attention like they're lining up for an inspection at the barracks. These are Decepticons. These are Stunticons. They have to have some attitude. So how did I get it like that? Well, the good news is all you need is one tool, and that is a hobby knife. I figured there's something going on in here, and I really wasn't sure what to do until I took it apart. So I disassembled it a bit. Well, actually, first I tried some silicone spray in there and some oil, but that didn't help. So I took these two screws out, disassembled the hips, knocked the pin out, and then what I found inside was that this piece here that I'm showing you now is it's just not rounded enough. It's supposed to be, I guess, a D shape. Anyway, there's a bit of an edge, right? And it's that edge where it goes from the straight part to the curve that is just not smooth enough to give you that motion, and that's what's making it sort of snap into place. So the way to fix that is just to shave it down. And the good news is you don't have to disassemble it to actually do that. And I apologize for the stupid vertical camera angle here. I originally thought I could squeeze this into a short, but then I realized I have more to say about these figures. Let me show you how to actually do it without disassembling figures. I suppose that with a blue plastic it might be easier to see on breakdown, and maybe we can just do it live here. Yeah, so there's a curve, and then it's going to be flat on this side. So you need to get both of them shaven down. So you want to open this up like that, and then, I don't know if this is going to show up on camera, but maybe I can show you what I did on Wildrider here. Yeah, so hopefully you can see here, even though it's dark plastic, where I've just shaven this down with the hobby knife. Right, so you want to take that edge off so that it's smooth as you can get it. So just be very careful, of course, because this is a small piece. You want to just find a comfortable position where your hands are out of the way and it's going to be safe to do the cutting without hitting yourself. It's very easy for this thing to jump out and nick yourself, so do be careful. I know I often joke about that, but we do want to be careful. So if you shave here, and then to get the top side on the other one, you can flip the joint around like this, so you get the big part of the pin at the front, and then turn it down again, and that should give you access to the other side. And again, you're gonna have to wiggle this around to get at it, but once you get in there, you can see here again, this is the surface that I've shaven off. So again, you can carefully work away at this. Just a few scrapes ought to do it, actually, but you know, you can try it, shave off a bit and see how it works. I did have to take off, you know, a fair bit, honestly. I'll see if I can do a bit of this on camera. Sorry, breakdown. I feel like I'm doing a robotic vasectomy on this guy. Shaving, more like plastic surgery. Am I right? I'm not sure which side of this joint is more important to shave down. It seems like both make a difference. Alright, so I'm sorry, I do try to show everything on camera that I can, but I often can't do it just because these things are so fiddly, and it was really hard to do that cutting with the camera in between me and the toy. So I had to do that, you know, very close to my body and very carefully and use both hands. So I have shaven down these hip joints now, just the way I showed you. It seems like it was mostly on the bottom. Now that I've done it this way without having to disassemble it, it's mostly this inner part here. So all you gotta do is open this up, shave here. On this one I did both sides. On this one I just did this inner part of the joint. I didn't do the outer part. And if you see now, you can do a nice stance. His legs are not going back together. This one has more travel. This one's a bit stiffer because I didn't do as much shaving, but you can still get your A stance and make them look cool like they're supposed to. Too cool for school. Big Stunticons on campus. I need to do more shaving, but that's the idea. The thing is that, you know, we've finally gotten ankle tilts on mainline figures after, you know, who knows how long. And, you know, they're not going to work. They're not going to benefit you unless you can get the hips to spread apart. So that's why this is important. At least it was important to me. And then you can get these nice stances where he's not going to spring to attention and stand there nervously. One other thing I noticed about the stance on this guy is that these heels collide with the roof of the car. So if you straighten the knees, he kind of leans forward somewhat. So I was considering chopping these feet because I don't think they need to be that big. You could actually chop some of this foot off, probably about there, and then it won't hit. I don't know if it's worth doing that though. I'm probably not going to do that because that's a lot of plastic to remove. Another thing you can do is remove these pegs. I don't know if you want to do this, but it does say in the instructions that you're supposed to peg the holes in the feet here onto these pegs here. But it doesn't work because of the angle. It doesn't actually peg into anything. It doesn't peg in at all. So I did take some sprue nippers and slice off one of the pegs to see how it worked. There's absolutely no difference in the transformation or the alt mode, but because of the way, you know, plastic stresses when it's cut like that, it did leave a bit of a mark, so I had to paint over that. So it's going to be noticeable. If you do that, you will have to probably paint over it again. Yeah, this is why I couldn't do a short. I keep forgetting the other modifications I've done to these guys. Yeah, another thing I did, by the way, is try to fix the windows, because it's really unfortunate that they cut corners on poor Breakdown here. Didn't give us a true Lamborghini Countach shaped of a car. It's just the Ferrari style car that they had for Wildrider. Really, one of the most distinctive things is these windows, so I tried to fix that, and I'm sorry, but I was not going to pay 15 bucks for the Toy Hacks label set, because mostly I just wanted this windows. So I remembered I had some tape. I got this 5-pack somewhere, and this is 3mm tape. I tried to find out what that is in inches for you American viewers, but I couldn't figure it out. I think it's like 3/64 or something like that. But anyway, it's 3mm tape if you can find this and want to try it. If you could get a 2mm, that'd probably be even better. But yeah, just a piece here and a piece here kind of gives the windows a bit more of a Countach style of look, which I think helps a bit. And yes, I did look up the pronunciation of Countach at some point in the past, because I always thought it was Countach. Everybody says Countach, but it's Countach. Countach. And then a couple of things I did for Breakdown here is I painted the feet blue, because I noticed that he's supposed to have blue feet, and for some reason there are white plastic in here. So if you do that, it's easy to remove the feet. I'm not going to do it in that one because I don't want to scratch my paint, but these are just pegged on. You can see you just have to wiggle it. It does take a bit of force to get them out, but if you heat the plastic up first, like I'm not doing it, and then yeah, it's just a peg like that. Right? So easy to remove. And then if you get some primer, spray paint the feet with primer, leave it to dry overnight, and then if you can find a good matching blue paint, in a spray can would be better. Airbrush, of course, is the best, but if you just want to brush it on, that should be fine too. It's not a perfect match. It looks worse on camera, but it was good enough for me. I happen to have this blue paint, so with a bit of primer, and then I did about 2 or 3 coats on top of this, because I didn't want to saturate. I often make the mistake of putting too much paint on at once, so just a light coat, let it dry overnight again, and then another light coat, and another light coat. It's important to let that paint dry in a warm place, because otherwise it's not going to adhere properly. And by the way, the primer, make sure you do get a primer that adheres to plastic, because sometimes I've heard of there's unpaintable plastics. There's 2 different types of plastic they use on these Transformers. Sometimes the softer one is not. It doesn't take paint very well. That might be why they didn't paint those or mold them in the correct color. I don't know. And then it's a good idea just to get some silver paint and paint these mushroom pegs, because I think it looks terrible when they don't do that. Looks like my paint's rubbed off here. And then finally, the last thing that you can do, other than add a logo where it's missing here, is the spoiler. So Breakdown comes with his spoiler, but in alt mode there's nothing to do with it. Well, okay, on the box they show you the you can use it, I guess, as some kind of awkward weapon, or you can attach it to his gun for Evo Fusion. but I think that's silly. The G1 cartoon model has the spoiler on the back upside down like this, and I found that actually you could lift this up and put this with the pegs facing the back, and then close this down, and it does cause the car kibble to stick out a little bit more than it normally would. Okay, there we go. So if you just hook it under there, it kind of gives it a bit more of a G1 look, and it's somewhere to store it. That's better than a weapon, and it's better than sticking on the back of his leg. Anyhow, that's all the improvements I have for these two fellows. So thanks for watching this episode of Transfixed.